The roar of rotor blades tore through the morning stillness as a bright orange Coast Guard helicopter hovered just above my dock, ready to land. Then, without warning, it jerked sharply left and shot back into the sky like it had seen a ghost. Confused, I stepped outside with my coffee in hand, and that's when I saw it. A brand new wooden board, nailed right where the emergency marker had always been. Painted in red, bold letters. No trespassing. HOA property. My jaw locked. I hadn't put that there. I hadn't authorized anyone to touch that dock. And I certainly didn't expect to see Karen from the HOA standing on the shoreline, waving smugly like she'd just solved global warming. She held a hammer in one hand and a cup of herbal tea in the other, mouthing the words, "You're welcome." She didn't know she'd just committed a federal offense. The dock wasn't decorative. After a regional flood, FEMA and the Coast Guard had designated a few key landing zones, mine included. Reinforced with steel grating, GPS-coded, federally registered, my dock was no backyard hobby. It was a rescue point. Boots crunching gravel. I walked down to confirm the madness. There it was, the HOA logo laminated and stapled to the bottom. Corner, Karen's signature in Sharpie beneath a warning about unauthorized dock activity. Rage boiled. I confronted her, reminding her this dock was federally protected infrastructure. She smirked. "Oh, please. You expect me to believe that little fishing plank is James Bond's helipad?" she said with a laugh. I showed her documents. Pictures. A printed memorandum of understanding from the Coast Guard. She called it photoshopped and suggested I improve my font choice. Logic wasn't going to work here. Karen didn't care about truth-only control. I made one call. "Commander." Nolan didn't even hesitate. He said a team would arrive that afternoon. By midday, 2 Coast Guard officers arrived, stern faces, radios in hand. I led them to the dock. Karen was already there in a lawn chair, still pretending it was hers. "Gentlemen," she greeted. "I trust you're here to help protect our shared property." One officer didn't blink. "Ma'am, did you install this sign?" She proudly confirmed. His tone changed instantly. "You interfered with a federally designated landing zone. That helicopter this morning was scheduled for training. Your actions caused a mission abort." Karen tried laughing it off, asking for permits. I handed over the files again. The officer took photos, radioed back, and minutes later, a patrol boat docked. Karen began pacing, nervous. When asked to remove the sign, she refused. "I'll have my lawyer cousin review this," she declared. They calmly explained the consequences: federal obstruction, Homeland Security involvement, potential prosecution. Reality finally pierced her arrogance. They removed the sign, reinstalled the Coast Guard marker, and added a QR code linking directly to the federal registry. Karen stood silent, face pale. Later, she stormed up to me. "You'll regret this," she hissed. I didn't reply. I just checked that the emergency markings were intact, but I knew this wasn't the end. 3 days passed like a loaded gun, waiting to fire. On Saturday, disaster struck. Smoke curled above the lake, thick, fast, deadly. A tourist boat had caught fire. A family was on board. My phone lit up with alerts. This was no HO inconvenience. This was a crisis. I dashed to the dock, yanked off the barrier Karen forced me to install weeks ago, and deployed the Coast Guard beacon. Then I saw it. Karen with folding tables, fruit trays, and banners reading HOA Safety Day. She had thrown a full-blown party at the access path. She waved at me cheerfully, like this was some lakeside picnic, not the front line of a rescue zone. I shouted, telling her to clear the area immediately. She laughed. "You can land your little boat somewhere else." It wasn't a joke anymore. Radioed the Coast Guard. They confirmed visual obstruction and redirected to circle. A patrol boat blasted across the lake and landed. Officers stormed through the party. Karen screeched as an officer clipped her balloons with trauma shears. "You can't destroy my decorations." She cried. The officer's voice cut like steel. "Ma'am, you are interfering with an emergency operation. Stand back, or you will be detained." The rescue went forward, equipment deployed. The family was pulled from the burning boat shaken. But alive, the father wept with gratitude. I stood there, watching the fire fade and the danger pass. But I also knew I had everything I needed on camera. That night, a black SUV pulled into Karen's driveway. A legal officer handed her a folder under DHS authority. This wasn't a warning, it was a citation, a court date, and the beginning of something bigger. Karen had gone from HOA queen to federal liability. And now she was being watched. Karen didn't go down with grace. She spun up a new scheme, her own fake enforcement group, the NPC. She printed fake fines, claimed birds were nesting illegally near the dock, and started measuring imaginary property lines in a reflective vest. I didn't argue, I just called. A reporter. Within 48 hours, the headline exploded. HOA Queen creates shadow government to target Coast Guard dock. She was a punchline now. Meanwhile, the real HOA board removed her from presidency by vote. She tried legal threats against me, submitted Facebook posts as evidence, and demanded the Coast Guard retract its citations. They responded with a legal shutdown so fast her printer probably caught fire. The final blow came quietly. The Coast Guard formally designated my dock as a permanent emergency coordination site. A metal plaque was installed with DHS and Coast Guard seals, GPS coded and registered in Washington. Now, kids take photos beside it. Neighbors bring coffee to the dock instead of complaints. Karen walks her dog once a week, silent, no clipboard. No signs, just a ghost in her own war zone. She lost her war because this dock wasn't just wood. It was purpose. It was law. And when the storm hit, it held.